Saturday, the 29th of March, 2025, 5 o'clock in the evening. At that exact hour, the planet Saturn crossed from the constellation of Aquarius into Pisces. Now, this wasn't some sudden, unexpected phenomenon, right? It's a verifiable astronomical event. It's printed in any standard almanac. You could literally check it yourself on any sky mapping app on your phone. It is fixed astronomy, just the clockwork of the cosmos, turning exactly as expected. But here's where that predictable cosmic clockwork meets a deeply chilling prediction. 600 years earlier, on a dried palm leaf in eastern India, someone wrote down this exact celestial crossing, and they tied it to a specific, frankly terrifying medical outcome. They wrote, when Saturn enters Pisces, the physician will not know where the disease ends, and whatever medicine he gives, the disease only grows. So this brings us to a fascinating medical mystery investigation. Could a text this old actually name a real sky event on the correct date? What exactly did it predict in clinical terms? And, perhaps most importantly, how close is that ancient sentence to what top medical professionals are warning us about today? As we look at this, it is absolutely crucial that we keep the fixed astronomy completely separate from the textual prophecies. Okay, let's dive into this explainer. We're going to unpack these claims today. Number 1, the writings of the great saints. Number 2, the disease no one can name. Number 3, when medicines stop working. Number 4, the drowning breath. And finally, number 5, the prescribed spiritual cure. Let's start with part 1, the writings of the great saints. We really need to establish exactly where these claims come from, looking at their historical and physical origins. These writings are collectively known as the Bhavishya Malika, which translates to the garland of future prophecies. They're sacred Odia writings composed roughly 600 years ago by the Panchasakha. These were 5 great saints, revered as great men of profound spiritual vision. And they didn't write this on paper. They inscribed these texts onto talapatra, dried palm leaves. Using the sidereal Vedic reckoning, these texts identify the transit of Saturn into Pisces. This is an event that last occurred in 1995 and then occurred again on March 29, 2025. That verifiable, checkable date initiates a very specific timeline of upheaval and disease, one that culminates in the year 2032, before a new era begins. Moving on to Chapter 2, let's unpack the first of the 3 specific clinical claims made by these great saints, plain and simple. According to the Bhavishya Malika, society will be struck by Achina Roga, which means unknown disease. According to Bhavishya Malika, the physician will not know where the disease ends. Not that the doctor fails to cure it, but that the doctor cannot find where the disease stops, or say what it is. A sickness that slips past the edges of the medical map. Now, to be completely clear, what follows is a resonance, not a proof, but it's a striking one. In 2018, the World Health Organization added the term Disease X to its own priority pathogen list, a deliberate placeholder for a serious epidemic caused by a pathogen not yet known. In January 2024, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, global health leaders held a panel titled Preparing for Disease X, an illness that, by definition, the physician cannot yet name. And we can trace this to a very precise location in the scripture. According to the Bhavishya Malika, Tattva Bodhini, Achyutananda, Nabhamadaya, page 46, whatever medicine is given, the disease grows. The great saints predicted that both modern allopathic medicine and ancient Ayurveda would become completely ineffective. Again, looking at modern resonances, and remember, these are just resonances, not fulfillments, we see the World Health Organization today calling antimicrobial resistance a top global health threat. That's a situation where our medicines literally fail, essentially feeding evolving superbugs. Let's look at Chapter 4, the drowning breath. This is the third and final clinical claim, dealing with the respiratory and mass casualty nature of these prophecies. The Bhavishya Malika predicts what it calls badi bimari. This translates to severe epidemics, specifically cholera-like illnesses and devastating diseases of phlegm and the lungs that cause multitudes to perish. If we look from modern resonances today, we might think of the clusters of undiagnosed respiratory illnesses that the WHO urgently requested data on back in November 2023. The transit date of Saturn is fixed astronomy. These medical parallels, however, are simply resonances. But there is a remarkable consistency across the sacred writings here. It isn't just one isolated verse. A second manuscript, the Paduka Kalki of Bhima Boy, Adhyaya 31, independently verifies this exact astronomical marker, Saturn entering Pisces, and it pairs it with that exact same devastating clinical outcome. Later here, moving to Chapter 5, the prescribed spiritual cure. Because this text absolutely does not end in darkness or fear. It ends with a specific, hopeful, zero-cost prescription. The Bhavishya Malika prescribes Trisandhya. This is the spiritual practice of worship performed at 3 specific times of the day: dawn, noon, and dusk. The great saints teach that a household where everyone performs Trisandhya will face no sorrow, no scarcity, and no disease. The crucial point here is the application of this cure. The steps are very clear. 1. Perform Trisandhya daily. 2. Recite the 16 names of Vishnu, specifically focusing on the repetition of the name Madhava. And 3. Read the Srimad Bhagavat. This is the exact medicine the great saints prescribed for this turbulent age, and it's a path being taught to international audiences today by Pandit Dr. Sri Kashinath Mishra. The text promises that the darkness of these unprecedented diseases is not the end of the world. Actually, it's simply the labor before a birth. It's the painful transition required before the dawn of Satya Yuga, the age of truth, in the year 2032. We've seen a 600-year-old palm leaf accurately name a verifiable astronomical event on a precise date. We've seen its clinical predictions resonate deeply with our modern medical anxieties. So, if the celestial clock was right, will you be ready for the dawn that follows the darkness? For those of you who want to investigate these ancient texts, the astronomical alignments, and the prescribed spiritual cure for yourselves, here are the official resources to guide your journey. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.